Alright, good morning guys. Today I'm going to show you how to turn on the 777 from cold and dark. If you have GSX, I'm also going to connect the JetWays just for fun. And I'm going to show you the FMC programming, turning on the engines, until that just before taxi. Let's get right into it. So, we're going to show up to a plane like this. I'm going to unpause in just a moment to show you how to get it to cold and dark, just the way the aircraft comes from the factory. Not its turnaround state, but what it comes from the factory with. Let's start up. Okay, the first thing you're going to do is go to the FMC beneath the captain's right knee. Click on FS Actions. Go to the, go to PMDg setup. Click on State Load panel, and we're going to go 777 cold and dark. I'm going to press the Execute button. It's going to take a couple of seconds, and it's going to get the system ready to be in a cold and dark state. It takes about 13 more seconds. In the meantime, I'm going to apply the parking brakes. I'm going to call in GSX just to operate the JetWays. Yep, continuing on. Now, the first thing we need to do in order to start the airplane is turn on the batteries. Now the batteries, I see a bit of lights coming on, but the battery is not enough to power all these displays as well as the aircraft instruments. What we're going to do is keep and hold menu, keep pressing it until the FMC starts up. Now we will go into FS Actions, ground connections. I'm going to make sure the view chocks are set. Now, ground power type and dual JetWay plugs. This needs to be 2 plugs, 1 plug is fine, but 2 plugs is better. Dual JetWay plugs, we need to have this connected, so we press this button right here. Once you're connected, you go back up to your overhead panel and you'll see that both external powers are available. I'm going to press the both on. You can see all the lights on the airplane have come on. Got a lot of fault messages, we're going to break through them. But the good news is that the aircraft is now in working order and it's on. At this point, you may be able to board passengers as well. And at this point, you can ask for the refueling, boarding, catering, and anything you want. Okay. Now, one of the things that I'd like you to see is that these ailerons and this rudder, as well as these elevators, they are not powered as of yet. If there is an errant gust of wind, the rudder is going to deflect, so is the elevators, and all these are not powered right now. When you start, door number 2 left on the forward side is also open, right? Once we've got that, we can go back inside the aircraft. It's going to take a couple of minutes to power these displays up. That's the realistic thing. You can go into the PMDg setup, aircraft, and equipment. Half of it's right here. You can scroll through next page. You can set up your realistic settings and all. I've kept it pretty much realistic. And these settings are used for fuel. So you can either add fuel in percentages by typing this in this right here. So for now, we have a pretty much short flight, so I'm just going to press medium range. It's going to load fuel medium. Apart from that, if you have a PFPX or some flight planning software that gives you the amount of fuel you need to carry, you can just enter a specific amount of fuel right here, and it's going to balance it in all the 3 tanks and give you that fuel. Right here you have the zero fuel weight. This is something that the computer stores itself, so when we need it in the future, which is pretty soon, we'll have it as well. Now, this is not the official way to start the 777, but it's the easiest way for people who are just learning how to start it. So one of the earliest things I'm going to do is this button up here, right here, is the ADIRO. It's our navigation system. The earlier we get it on, the earlier we can do the hard FMC programming. Now, all these errors, we're going to figure them out one at a time. I'm just gonna disable the master one, press this one, and we may continue. As you can see, the PFD and the navigation displays are up. All the displays are up, but they do not show anything. That is because our DRU is still not aligned. So we can go into the main flight management computer. You can see your AirAct data. This is a couple of days out of date, but that's no issue. It doesn't affect us as much. Now here, this is where we set our initial inertial position. Now, the easiest thing to do is just press the last position button. It will copy the data right here. You can paste it right here. You just clear this. Once that's done, the IRO is supposed to align pretty quick. It's already done so. Otherwise, if you want to go the long way around, you can copy the GPS actual position right here and then paste it back. The last position is pretty much accurate unless you have warped your plane somewhere after initial startup. Alright, so this is our route page. This is where the magic happens. So for this, what we first need to do is go down to this website, flightplandatabase.com. Search in your route. For me, it's Warsaw to London Heathrow Airport. Alternatively, you can also use an application like PFDX plan, but that's more complicated, and I figured this one is pretty easy. You can just download the route, and wherever it is, you're gonna get it into your main P3D folder, into PMDg flight plan, then the 777, and paste it right here. This one, Warsaw to London Heathrow, Warsaw to London Heathrow. I have a couple of other routes, but this is the only one you need. It's an RTE file. You're going to use the PMDg downloader for this. Pretty simple. Once we're done with that, the plane will be automatically able to read it, and we can proceed with the route request. It's pretty similar to how you would order a company route in real life, just a bit of difference because it's on our computer rather than their database. We're going to proceed with picking the correct route. We're going to request it. Now, it's going to take a couple of seconds for this to request. Alright, so route 1 uplink is ready. We're going to press load. Now that we've seen that it's loaded, one more thing we can do is fire up the APU. And once the APU is up, that will supply all the electrical power here, so we can disconnect the wheel chocks, as well as the ground power unit that we may be able to push back, taxi. Okay, so we're going to clear this. We're going to activate our route by pressing activate right here. Then we're going to execute. Now, we're going to follow this towards performance initialization. And here, it's going to give you an automatic set of data about how many reserves we have. As I told you before, the zero fuel weight will be automatically saved, the gross weight, cruise altitude, and cost index as well. We can either accept this and be happy with it, or we can accept this and add our values that we don't like manually. For example, I want to cruise at flight 335 instead. I'm going to enter 335, and I'm going to paste it right here. And it's going to update that to 335. Similarly, I can modify my reserve from 7.5 to 12 tons. And that's how the performance initials are calculated. Thrust limits are if you want to derate thrust. For this, you need to enter the temperature outside. And these are some prerequisites. I do not bother with this because I like my engine with maximum power. Now for the takeoff page, it's gonna have you enter two data points, flaps and the center of gravity. As well as that, we're actually going to have to select the departure runway. So for me, I'm gonna select runway 11 with SIDS Simba. And I'm going to execute that. Now that is going to update my navigational computer with where I want to go, right? These are the waypoints that have been added into the navigational computer. You can zoom out, you can check our pretty much route right here. Alright. So next we're gonna go to arrivals. We're gonna pick any run we want. Apart from this, you can just not pick a runway right now, and you can just choose it later, but I like to do it because I'm not really a fan of approach debriefings. I'm gonna proceed direct to this runway. Alright, so once we're back en route, we can go to takeoff now. We can press the center of gravity button. It will give us the center of gravity it has. We can input this now. And since we have a light and a short flight today, we can just use flaps 5. For longer and heavier flights, we use flaps 15. For our V-speeds, it's already provided us with a set of V-speeds, V1, VR, and V2. We can just input them by pressing each button once. Once again, we have no thrust limit. Now, I just pressed the program page, and it has given us our waypoints right here. And this progress page is essential for estimating your time of arrival in Zulu. This is Zulu time, not local time, and estimating the amount of fuel we'll have on arrival. This also tells us the top of cruise. After takeoff, it's going to take us 101 nautical miles to get to our cruise position. Now, one other thing I'd like to show is this. Now, as a route discontinuity, we're going to press the exact waypoint after the route discontinuity. We're going to take it right here. This is supposed to fix the route. It's going to take a minute for the VNav and LNav to reconfigure their data. Similarly, before landing, we also have a route discontinuity between the ILS intercept point and the last waypoint. We're going to press this. Go here, and we're gonna execute this as well. Now our route is pretty much set, and you can see it's pretty long route right here. This is how it's going to take us right here and then fly it back. So I generally use program page here for the fuel and the legs page here. Now our aircraft is pretty much programmed to fly the route. We're going to proceed with checking if our APU is running. That's it, our APU is running. Alternatively, you can go to the stat page right here. It's going to show up on your bottom center display. You're going to see RPM 100. Once you see 99 or 100, that means your APU is running. What we can do now is go back to menu, FS actions, ground connection. We're going to remove the wheel chokes. This will remove the jetway plugs too. Now our aircraft is free from any ground limitations. One more thing we will do is, since the APU is now running, we need to activate the beacon light. I also activate the nav, logo, and wing lights. Now we can also add a bit of flood lighting. That's the lights right here on top of this panel, because it's soon going to be nighttime and we don't want to be sitting in the dark. That's up to you. One thing we will do now is go by these systems and address them. So one of the first things this is hydraulic pressure system left, center, and right. So we're going to address that issue, and we're going to turn all these hydraulic systems on. All these go to auto and all these to on. Now this will solve the problem I mentioned initially about the ailerons sitting down and the rudders inoperative. These error messages are going to go away pretty soon. Now once that is solved, you can see that the hydraulic system error has gone from here. As far as the engine shutdown goes, we will not be turning on the engines for now. First, we focus on the packs. Now the packs are like air conditioners for your aircraft, and since they're on, we go to the next setting, that is the TCAS. Now for TCAS over here, you generally enter your flight number or anything that the air traffic control gives you, and you can use this lower upper knobs for the digits respectively. For now, we're just going to test the TCAS at the existing setting. And this is your TCAS test. These black lines are, red lines are a non-issue. It's just because of the test. As you can see, the TCAS is now working, so we're going to move that to the rightmost setting to activate it. TCAS will serve as a final emergency system in order to avoid a major collision. Now, the emergency lights are an integral part of this aircraft, and without this, a safe evacuation will not take place. The only thing we need to do is turn this card off, and it's going to arm the emergency lights automatically. Now, as far as the door entry to left goes, we can go into FS Actions, Door, and we can close this door right up. We will also arm this door in case of an emergency. And the last warning remaining is fuel pressure. Now for fuel pressure, we're just going to turn these fuel pumps on. We will also check the overhead panel for any remaining errors. These will be fixed with engine startup. The rest is all fine. So what we can center pumps. So as getting a fuel low center, that always depends on how much fuel you have in your fuel tanks. So since we have pretty low amount of fuel in the fuel tanks, center fuel tanks, we're just gonna turn those off. That error should go away. Right. So the APU is running, parking brake is set, and the no smoking lights are on. To eliminate that warning, I just turned no smoking to auto as well as seatbelts to auto. Alright. So one more thing we now need to do is go for pushback. Now I can enter it from FS Actions towards the pushback tab right here, and it's going to give me a couple of options. Let's just figure them out one by one. Alright. So I'm going to go to the exterior display. This is the Whiskey Design Warsaw Airport, and I'm going to see where I could taxi. So how about we have a straight pushback, and we can have a straight pushback with our nose turned to the right and our tail turned to the left. That's going to allow us to taxi all the way there towards the runway. So we have to turn nose right. I'm going to add about 200 feet. This is just an estimate about how long it's supposed to take. And I'm going to start the pushback. So as I said, we're going to release our parking brake, which is done by Control P, or just pressing this button right here. And we will also be starting our engines alongside the pushback. As soon as the aircraft starts to reverse, we will be starting our engine startup process. Alright, so this panel right here is our engine panel. Engine number right will be started first. Turn the starter switch left towards start, and turn the fuel flow right towards run. The engine will be starting up now. You can monitor engine page from this button right here. Both these pages display engine data. N2 is rising, and 1 should be stabilizing soon. You can hear it. Okay, so the engine has stabilized now. We can proceed to starting engine number 1, the left side. Now, one thing you might notice is that all the right side emergency system, the alarms on the right side, as well as these alarms on the right side have gone. This will be gone as soon as the left engine starts. If you have very tight taxiways, you can also use taxiway turn-off lights. These are high-angle lights, help illuminate the taxiways while you are taxiing at night time. These are your landing lights. These should be off at this apron because they are quite bothersome to vehicles on the ground and the terminal. But once you're on taxiway out there, you may turn these on, and these are integral until 10,000 feet. After departure and during landing below 10,000 feet. Now, our V-speeds are set, V1154, and we have no pertinent errors to go. Now that our engines are on, we will be turning off the APU, and our aircraft is now good to go for departure. One more thing you should do is turn on both flight directors, as well as arm and nav beam. Once you take off, you can hand fly this route right here, or you can turn on autopilot. It's going to take care of your speed, as well as your altitude, as well as the progress of your route. Thank you.